New York, London. The words were a low murmur, a litany of global power centers, each name carrying a weight of unspoken significance. Shanghai, Paris. The recitation continued, each city a marker in a growing storm. A voice, laced with apprehension, cut through the almost hypnotic chant. It's almost as if a storm is swirling around Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. The name hung in the air, charged with a potent mix of fear and wonder. What is happening? The speaker's voice trembled slightly. Another voice, closer to panic, replied, I feel like I'm witnessing the world's end. The scale of the events was clearly overwhelming. Is he really the Sung Jin-Woo I know? A question, tinged with disbelief, hung in the air, questioning the very nature of what was unfolding. I knew that he was a hunter capable of growth, a voice admitted, but just how much stronger has he become in such a short span of time? The unspoken question echoed, emphasizing the rapid transformation that defied all expectations. A low, guttural growl broke the tense silence. That wretch? The tone was one of simmering fury, a warning of impending conflict. The Creator revealed a prophecy to me, a voice declared, its tone a mixture of resignation and defiance, that my existence would conclude at the hands of the pillar of flames that supports this world. But what he failed to mention was whether that pillar would actually fall or not. A sense of grim anticipation permeated the words. I've been positioned for an extended period, waiting to strike, a voice admitted, frustration clear in its tone. But this is clearly a situation I cannot intercede in. A grudging acknowledgement of overwhelming force. From 30 minutes prior, a voice stated, its tone clinical. The elite operatives of the Faint Guild have been dispersed across the surrounding structures. Once they receive the designated signal, they will unleash a barrage of support fire upon the opposition like an intense storm. The speaker paused, the implication hanging heavy in the air. We may be able to apply significant damage to the enemy. A voice, edged with despair, responded. But if that were to occur, how many of us would remain? We would be consumed if we failed to strike. We would still be consumed, even if the strike was successful. The futility of the situation was painfully clear. Our adversary is a being that not even Thomas Andre could subdue. The speaker's tone reached a level of grim acceptance. It seems as though the time for us to be making a decision is coming. Just settle back and observe, a voice commanded, a hint of forced bravado in its tone. Who's there? The sudden shift in focus indicated a potential new element entering the fray. Hunters gathered for the purpose of subjugation and evacuation of magical beasts, a voice stated matter-of-factly, and not a single one of them has been able to intervene in the ongoing conflict. The weight of the battle was clear. They were simply waiting for the most favorable circumstances, the speaker continued. The conclusion to the battle seemed imminent. A gasp of realization broke through the tension. It must be some form of toxic agent. The voice was urgent. The effects are still evident in the surrounding environment. A cold, dismissive voice replied, poison will have no effect on me. The speaker's confidence was absolute. Initiating detoxification sequence. The words were clipped, precise. Sequence successful, the voice added, a note of dark amusement coloring its tone. You impudent being. A furious voice, filled with unbridled rage, roared, I shall tear you into countless pieces. The threat hung in the air, a promise of unimaginable violence. An overwhelming force, a voice admitted, laced with resignation. I cannot counter it. Initiating skill, immutability, another voice calmly stated. So, a voice, tinged with a strange sense of calm, acknowledged, this must be the experience of profound darkness, a deep void that humbles even us, who were born from the void. The voice was filled with a sense of wonder. How brilliant this darkness is. A voice, devoid of emotion, announced, you have overcome Croatia, monarch of plagues, and one of the 9 monarchs. A series of disembodied announcements followed. Your level has increased. Your level has increased. Your level has increased. The mechanical tone emphasized the rapid accumulation of power. How is this possible? A voice asked in shock. He should not be able to fully command the Shadow Monarch's power. Yet, a voice pointed out, incredulous. A new voice rose above the others. So we will experience again the fear towards one of the strongest monarchs that once dominated this universe. Do not be so apprehensive of him, a voice countered, dismissive. He is clearly depleted, and the fact that he relies on such trivial means clearly illustrates he is not complete. The speaker's words were laced with a subtle threat. An incomplete monarch cannot obstruct the path of true monarchs. Barry's essence is dissipating, a voice announced, concern evident in its tone. Did he sever the shadow essence that was attached to Thomas Andre? The same way he did with Summon, the speaker said slowly before continuing. Cancel Baru. Return. Two electronic voices responded in unison. You cannot retract the specified subject. The mechanical pronouncements emphasized the limits of power. I managed to avoid Barrow's demise, a voice declared, a hint of satisfaction in its tone. However, King of the Beasts, you are correct. Human, a voice boomed, the tone laced with condescension. It seems that you are unduly confident with the power you have, which is not truly yours. Even if you exercise it by manipulating these puppets, we need only to sever the strings to release them. The words were a clear challenge, a display of power. I will confine your puppets under my influence and subject them to perpetual healing and revitalization. The voice paused, reveling in the power it wielded. Then, your soldiers will become mere parasites that eat away at your spirit. Now what will you do? Human cook, a new voice mocked, the challenge evident in its tone. He's not present, a confused voice whispered, highlighting a sudden shift in the battle. His swiftness is considerable, a voice admitted, grudgingly. Your stealth capabilities must rely upon a substantial energy consumption. The speaker's voice hardened. I will bring an end to this swiftly. Motion, sight, breathing, muscle energy flow. The words were muttered, fragmented, a desperate attempt to understand the unfolding events. I can see them. If only I can match his swiftness, even for a brief moment. I am uncertain what your designs are, a voice stated, dismissive, but they will be futile. I have you. A triumphant cry was heard as one combatant seemed to have gained the upper hand. It seems your confidence is misplaced, a voice mocked, without the speed you held so dearly. Status, a voice requested, cold and analytical. Name, Sung Jin-Woo, class, Shadow Monarch, level, 146, titles, Demon Hunter, and 2 others. HP, 93,300. MP, 1,557,200. Fatigue, 0, Strength 324, Stamina 320, Agility 340, Intelligence 340, Perception 321. AP, 0, Physical Damage Reduction, 65%. Magical Damage Reduction, 44%. Passive Skill, Unknown, Level Max, Tenacity, Level 1, Advanced Dagger Art, Level Max. The recitation was a clinical assessment of a power that defied simple classification. My power has expanded, a voice declared, its tone laced with a quiet confidence. So this small inconvenience means nothing. The words were a subtle boast, a declaration of an evolution in strength. A different voice, tinged with a sardonic edge, replied, I will return your weapon to you. Then, shall I? The tone was almost mocking, suggesting a control over the situation. Now, can you mend yourself as you did before? The speaker's tone implied a challenge. A cold, dismissive voice responded, most likely not. Regardless of your capabilities, you are not a complete monarch. The words were a pronouncement of limitation. Is this the extent of your abilities, human? The first voice asked, its tone a mixture of contempt and curiosity. If that is indeed the case, then you will not be able to bear witness to the moment when our forces set foot upon this world. The tone promised a cataclysmic event. When that moment occurs, mountains of human remains shall rise, and their essence shall form boundless rivers. The speaker paused, painting a grim picture of the future. But your country, the place you grew up, will meet a different fate. I will personally encase every living being within its borders in ice, and make them suffer an unending torment. They will be forced to endure an eternity where they can neither cease to be, nor truly live. The words were chilling, laced with a promise of eternal suffering. So, show me your boundless contempt for me as you fade from existence. That, too, shall add to my enjoyment. Still, a little more, just a little more, a voice murmured, seemingly to itself, a mixture of anticipation and determination coloring its tone. Player's life force has reached a critical point, an automated voice announced, the emotionless tone contrasting with the gravity of the words. Player has ceased to be. Player has ceased to be. Player is in possession of the black heart. The pronouncements were cold and final. You have fulfilled all the requirements for passive skill. Unknown? A new, unknown factor had entered the equation. Skill tab, passive unknown, max, tenacity, level 1. Advanced dagger arts, max, active. Quicksilver, max, bloodlust, max, stealth, level 2 max. The litany of skills was a testament to a power in flux. Passive skill, unknown has been activated. The announcement held an undercurrent of anticipation. Skill tab, passive unknown, max, tenacity, level 1. Advanced dagger arts, max, active. Quicksilver, max, bloodlust, max, stealth, level 2 max, passive, unknown, tenacity. The list continued, showcasing the evolution of power. Skill tab X, max, level 1 advanced dagger arts, max, active quicksilver, max, Bloodlust, max. Stealth, level 2 max. Skill tab unknown. Quicksilver, max. Bloodlust, level 2. Stealth, max. The skills seem to shift and multiply, an indication of a dynamic transformation. I guess your power is worthless, a voice mocked, the tone laced with scorn. Without the swiftness you are so proud of. I shall return your weapon to you then, shall I? The speaker paused, a subtle challenge in the air. Now, can you mend yourself as you did earlier? A dream. Was it all a dream? A voice whispered, confusion evident in its tone. Hospital. I am certain that the ice dagger pierced through my core. And yet, I still exist? Have you recovered your senses, Chairman Wu Jinchul? The words were a jumble, trying to grasp an impossible reality. Chairman, what happened to those monarchs? A voice asked, urgent and filled with confusion. No, those monsters, and how am I still among the living? The questions piled up, seeking answers to an inexplicable situation. There are 3 things I should inform you, a voice responded, the tone calm and measured. Firstly, I am not the chairman, but the chief inspector of the surveillance team. Secondly, I would like to inquire about the moving statues. And thirdly, how do you know my identity? The speaker's questions were direct and unsettling. How do you know who I am? Wait a second. The speaker's train of thought was broken with a realization. What do you mean by moving statues? A voice asked, incredulity coloring its tone. When we arrived at the site, along with the White Tiger Guild, after receiving the initial report, it was already, the voice began, before being interrupted. That's not what I was asking, the previous voice exclaimed. Don't tell me, impossible. The speaker's tone was a mixture of shock and disbelief. I swore this hospital room felt familiar. That's because I spent 2 weeks here in the past. But Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, you look somewhat different from your photo. The VIP patient room, a voice stated, provided by the Hunters Association. This was the room where I came to consciousness after barely surviving the dual dungeon. The speaker's tone was a mixture of disbelief and growing understanding. Are you quite all right? A new voice asked, concern evident in its tone. I believe I require some time to arrange my thoughts, a voice admitted, its tone tinged with bewilderment. How is this transpiring? Status. Name. Sung Jin-Woo. Class. Shadow Monarch. Level. 146. Titles. Demon Hunter and 2 others. HP. 93,300. MP. 1,557,200. Fatigue. 0. Strength 324. Stamina 320. Agility 340. Intelligence 340. Perception 321. AP. 0. Physical damage reduction 65%. Magical damage reduction 44%. Passive skill. Unknown, max. Tenacity level 1. Advanced dagger arts, max. Active skill. Quicksilver, max. Bloodlust, max. Mutilation, level 2. Dagger rush, max. Stealth, max. Ruler's authority, max. Class-specific skills. Shadow extraction, level 2. Shadow preservation, level 2. Monarch's domain, level 2. Shadow exchange, level 2. My form and statistics are as they were before. I've returned while possessing them all. The voice was filled with a growing sense of realization. Everything that I stored is still here as well. Even Cheon Sang-il, brother. A new voice exclaimed. What are you doing so soon after awakening? The tone was a mix of exasperation and concern. Don't tell me you have injured your head as well, huh? The speaker continued, a teasing note in their voice. Did I come to the wrong room? Who are you? Another voice asked, bewildered. Oh, I suppose she does not recognize me due to the gradual changes in my appearance over time. The speaker paused, the hint of a smile coloring their tone. Back then, can you really not recognize your older brother? Are you truly my older brother? A skeptical voice questioned. I feel as though you have become deaf. Ferret. And you have grown quite a bit as well? That is likely just a sensation. A voice responded dismissively. Why are you heading there? I am rather busy. I must report to the Hunter Association. The voice was filled with a sense of purpose. To inform them of my intention to cease being a hunter. Really? A voice responded, doubt coloring its tone. I know you left while you were in the middle of class, so you should return to school. What dash? And you as well, young man? Do not even consider giving up your studies to become a hunter. How did he know my name? The thought hung in the air. Even though I do not have my shadow forces, I need only to rebuild my army. But how is this transpiring, and why has such a phenomenon occurred? I have truly traveled back in time. Has it been 2 years since that confrontation? To think a man of such appearance would be a S-rank hunter. The device we possess is unable to measure your power, a voice declared, its tone clinical. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. I am aware, a voice responded, calm and measured. But before we proceed again, I would like to meet with the chairman. The speaker paused. Would that be permissible? Then I shall escort you to the chairman. I am already aware of his location. I shall travel there myself. The statement was firm, a subtle assertion of control. How does someone of his position know the location of the chairman's office? What sort of fabricated story shall I construct today? A voice mused to itself. It is not the first instance that I fabricate falsehoods for the association. Should Chief Inspector Weijenshell discover the deception, I shall be in great difficulty. You possess a stealth skill, and yet you have not reported this fact. Furthermore, you are a high-ranking hunter who is not present on the roster of those who are strictly under the management of the association. The voice paused, its tone growing more menacing. Someone will request you to seek vengeance for their daughter, and I am not interested in your dealings with criminal elements. However, if you inflict harm upon any innocent hunters during that incident, your existence will be brought to an end at my hands. You have been given only a single warning. Just who are you? A voice whispered, apprehension evident in its tone. Who is that specter-like being? It feels gratifying to meet you, a voice declared, the tone possessing an undercurrent of menace. It has been an eternity since last I laid eyes on him. Chairman, seeing how you sought me out upon the acquisition of your test results, I assume you are somewhat versed in the applicable protocols, a voice stated. Already? What is the issue? No, it is nothing, another voice responded dismissively. Notification. Would you like to restart the world? The automated voice punctuated the tense interaction. Accept or decline. Then, I will go directly to the matter at hand. Before that, there is a proposal I wish to put forward to you. The voice was direct, cutting through the tension. A proposal? I require access to Jeju Island to establish my shadow force. Please revise the regulations to allow summons to be regarded as raid members by the association. The speaker paused, making a demand. If this is done, I shall personally overcome every ant on Jeju Island. Notification. Would you like to restart the world? The same mechanical voice spoke again. Accept or decline, another voice said, its tone a mixture of frustration and disbelief. Please refrain from uttering something so ludicrous. Are you not aware of how many times we have failed on Jeju Island raids? This power, it is something only I can accomplish, a voice declared, its tone filled with unwavering confidence. Please, leave it to me. I assure you, I am able to deal with the ants of Jeju Island, power that vastly surpasses even that of a national-level hunter. A breath escaped the speaker, disbelief evident in their tone. How is this? What is happening? Notification. Would you like to restart the world? The emotionless voice spoke once again. Accept? Decline? I think I am going to retire. Notification. Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Notification. Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Notification. Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Notification. Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Why will you not cease this? A voice exclaimed, its tone strained. I am aware that this is all an illusion. Cease this charade and reveal your true form. For how much longer do you intend to look down upon me from above? Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? What? Notification? Would you like to restart the world? Accept? Decline? Notification. Start the world. Who are you? A voice asked, laced with both curiosity and dread. Are you the sovereign of the deceased? Are you the sovereign of the departed? A voice asked, the question hanging heavy with an undercurrent of both fear and fascination. A new voice responded, its tone both ancient and gentle. If you so desired, you could reside within this realm for all of time. It would be akin to never awakening from the most sublime dream. The promise was tempting, a vision of endless tranquility. Are you suggesting that I become confined within this illusion that you have crafted? A voice countered, suspicion lacing each word. No, the new voice replied, its tone clear and precise. I did not bring this world into being. You are the architect of its construction. I merely provided the power. The response was a subtle shift in the perceived balance of control. I created this world? A voice asked, disbelief evident in its tone. It is a realm birthed from a combination of your aspiration to correct past missteps and my own power, the voice clarified. In other words, this is my domain. The statement was clear and unequivocal. This is the eternal resting place, the final cessation of all things. The voice paused, adding a layer of chilling finality to its words. I have observed you for a span of time that far surpasses your comprehension. You, who have always been closer to the edge than any other, the voice continued, yet have so fiercely resisted it. I am the embodiment of your struggles, the proof of your resistance, and the reward for your agonies. I am both the cessation of all things and the source of deepest fear. I am you. The statement was enigmatic, blurring the lines between separate identities. And within my dominion, you have the capability to do anything you wish, the voice concluded, a note of invitation in its tone. You can transform my servants into your own, and even absorb their power. Poro, a voice whispered, as if testing the nature of the new reality. Although it is only feasible within your own realm, the ancient voice acknowledged, the ability to bring forth, dismantle, and alter all that exists is a power beyond measure. Are you suggesting that you and I wield the same capabilities? A question, tinged with both curiosity and apprehension. I have awaited this meeting for an extensive period, a voice declared, its tone filled with a sense of ancient purpose. I am the Shadow Monarch, the ruler over the power of the departed, and the steward of the deepest part of the darkness. Why was I chosen? The question was heavy with implication, hinting at a vast, unspoken history. We will present to you our origin and our end, the voice said, the words carrying a weight of ancient knowledge. And also, your beginning. No, a voice exclaimed, the tone laced with a rising panic. He's surely not here anymore, right? The speaker seemed to be addressing someone else, a group of worried individuals. Hunter Sung's presence has vanished, another voice declared. The pronouncement final and absolute. What just transpired? A question, born of confusion and fear, hung in the air. That is beyond the realm of possibility, a voice declared, disbelief evident in its tone. So now, there is no one to obstruct the path of those creatures. Damn it, a voice muttered, frustration thick in its tone. I should not have heeded that person before. Perhaps we could impede their progress if we attack them immediately? A voice suggested, a desperate attempt to take control. No, we must stop them. A voice countered, its tone urgent. Now that even national-level hunters have failed to manage them, there is no recourse. Everyone prepare to discharge. We will execute the plan upon my signal. Our primary target is the creature that resembles a being from the ice. The speaker's words were a desperate call to action. How is this happening? A voice whispered, overwhelmed by what was transpiring. Do not tell me no, another voice exclaimed, the words tinged with dread. We cannot permit this to unfold. We must impede the true sovereign from descending, now that the false one has departed. The speaker's tone revealed an understanding of something far more consequential than what was immediately apparent. From this point forward, no entity will bring harm to this child. A voice, ancient and powerful, cut through the chaos, a declaration of absolute protection. In another realm, light and darkness were the only two elements in existence. The voice began, a tone of narration entering the speech. In an age when everything else was yet to manifest, the source of existence divided itself into fragments, birthing emissaries of the divine and sovereigns designed to dismantle the world. And the emissaries, tasked with safeguarding existence, and the sovereigns, purposed with its dismantling, were in a state of unending conflict. The forces, weary of the ceaseless battle, sought an audience with the source. Oh, our ultimate ruler, a voice pleaded, its tone filled with desperation. Why do you not aid your most loyal subjects as they honor you in combat? Why do you ignore the voices of countless individuals, sacrificing themselves for your glory? Please, grant us the power to overcome our adversaries. We shall take their remains as an offering to you. But the source remained silent. And in that moment, a voice declared, the forces came to the realization that to their creator, the conflict was but a spectacle, and that they held no intention of bringing the violence to an end. Adore the source. Adore the power. And with a mixture of both piety and despair, they cried out to the source, swearing their fealty to the source. They had followed its precepts until now. Those who defied the laws were never among the living, yet more followed the path of defeat than triumph. Even when adhering to the dictates, only oblivion awaited. As long as that being existed, there would be no end to the conflict. And in order to cease the endless discord, they drew their blades, and the first seeds of revolt were sown. That is who I was in the distant past. I was the sole emissary who stood against the rebellion of the others. But my pitiful forces fell before the united might of the sovereigns and their armies, and I believed it to be the end. But when I opened my eyes within the depths of the dark, I came to realize that the source had concealed a certain power within me. And so, I led my new force to the battlefront. However, a voice admitted, resignation clear in its tone, upon my return, I discovered that all was over. Viridon optus adius. The name itself was a whisper of a time before. A time when I, its bearer, returned to find a reality shattered beyond recognition. The grand tapestry of existence, once vibrant and whole, was now frayed, its threads torn apart. The brilliant light, once a singular, awe-inspiring presence, had splintered into fragments. These remnants, pulsating with a newfound and terrifying autonomy, had overthrown the absolute being. These fragments, these self-proclaimed new gods, seized the mantle of power, assuming the position of the rulers. They wielded the very tools that once served the absolute, now twisted into instruments of subjugation. Their primary objective, to bring the sovereigns to their knees. I watched as the king of giants, Ligia, was ensnared by their machinations, her capture causing a catastrophic shift in the fragile equilibrium of power. The delicate balance between the forces had collapsed. The gravity of the situation finally dawned on the remaining sovereigns. The realization that they were facing their extinction was not only terrifying but also forced an understanding to become united. It was at this pivotal juncture, as their desperation grew, that I extended my hand. I, the one who held a different path. They had no alternative. Necessity, as they say, forced a reluctant alliance. Together, we would confront the common enemy that sought to reshape existence to their design. Thus began a conflict that stretched beyond the limits of time itself. I became something beyond a fragment of light or an emissary of any higher power. I rose as the Shadow Monarch, an entity born of the very essence of shadow, a force that resonated with the unseen and the unknown. Time, the relentless tide, now became my silent partner. The husks of battles past, the lingering energies of conflicts past, became the foundation for my growing army. When my forces melded with the formidable army of destruction led by the king of berserk dragons, the new gods, as well as the remaining monarchs, began to taste the bitter dregs of trepidation. However, within our ranks, insidious fears grew. Two sovereigns, consumed by paranoia, targeted my back. Their actions nearly dismantled the Shadow Army, leaving our collective strength teetering on the brink. This betrayal taught me a hard lesson, that even formidable might could be undermined by the seed of insecurity. The king of beasts, the beast monarch, driven by cowardice, abandoned his forces, leaving them scattered and disoriented. Baron, the monarch of white flames, paid the highest price for this fractured unity, succumbing to the chaos around him. And then, amid the chaos, came a plea from the very beings that sought to control existence. "Please, it is time," they intoned. "Time for you to forgive us. Oh, greatest fragment of brilliant light, this endless fighting has no purpose." Despite their formidable abilities, despite the strength they held to unravel my existence completely, they had opted for a different approach, a path of conciliation. This was the least show of respect they could give me after I was their ally and fought on their front line. "No purpose?" I challenged. "Have your weapons not wounded my liege? Was he not a figure of authority to you as well?" Their offense was all the more appalling because they, of all beings, should have understood the burning passion that drove rebellion. They confessed that their aim was not to destroy, but to bring the conflict to a halt. "Use your weapons on me," they implored. "Grant us the ending we deserve. Allow yourselves to be proclaimed victorious. Find it within your hearts to forgive us. Quell your anger." I was overwhelmed with doubt and confusion. I could not determine a suitable course of action. I retreated, choosing to conceal myself within the shadows, the essence of the monarch of white flames trapped within my own. I had planned to strike at the forces of the beast monarch after healing my wounds. But during my self-imposed isolation, the sovereigns, weakened and scattered, were eventually overcome by the new gods. When I emerged again, the remaining sovereigns, seizing their chance, fled into the dimensional rifts. The king of dragons, acknowledging their dwindling power, forbade further conflict and welcomed me into their ranks. Together, we embarked on a search for a new world, one where we could regain our strength. That world was Earth. To the humans, the sudden appearance of the monarchs must have been a cataclysmic event. Their utter destruction was inevitable. Cities were consumed by infernos, scenes that echoed with a terrible familiarity. Is this what awaits us? The demon castle, a vision of the future? I wondered. No, this is a chronicle of the past, came the answer. The sovereign's purpose was destruction, while the new god's purpose was maintaining a world in the absence of the absolute being. The new gods, belatedly, uncovered the activities of the sovereigns and sent their forces to counteract them. But in the end, all came to ruin. Enraged, the new gods, aware that they had failed to eradicate the chaos of the other world, used the cup of reincarnation. It was an incredible artifact that could turn back the hands of time. It was their ultimate effort to preserve this existence. Yet, the earth was too weak, lacking the magical essence required to endure the conflict. The result would have been the same no matter who came out victorious. Therefore, the new gods made a drastic decision. If they couldn't save all, then some would survive in this world and carry on. This was how the hunters were created. Humans granted the power to face the impending devastation. The new gods, in their own way, wished for the survival of humanity. But could such a world operate normally when they knew that they were the ones to survive while everyone else would meet a terrible end? The Demon King was a memory, a fragment of the Shadow Monarch, a reminder that this world had already experienced countless cycles of destruction. Although the higher beings couldn't go against the flow of time, they could perceive the changes made by the cup of reincarnation. While the rulers attempted to correct their errors, the sovereigns, in turn, modified their strategy until the divine tool was depleted. So there is a limit to the cup? I asked. Just as the absolute being was dismantled by its creations, everything has a limit. The sovereigns then adopted the methods of the new gods, granting power to humans, just as the new gods had done with the hunters. This allowed them to descend into the world with their forces much sooner than expected, using the planet's magic to create a vast trap to ensnare the forces that attempted to aid the world. However, for a sovereign of my magnitude, I needed a host capable of wielding such immense power. No ordinary human could withstand the darkness that was a part of me. It was then that a powerful mage, working under a king, offered me a solution. He sought an imperishable body in return for his assistance. This architect, as he was called, had built a system designed to search for the perfect vessel. He sought a human with the gift to sense magic, with a formidable physique, and with a strong spirit and mind. He found a human that broke his system, rewriting the rules of his game and exceeding his expectations. I chose them instead of the architect. I was there to witness their resistance and their pain. The system he designed was like a game, transforming the host level by level until they matched my power. This was the reason the system was similar to a game. But in the end, it was a betrayal of the system. Shadow Monarch, how could you? Do you really believe the other monarchs will not act against you? Why offer an apology when they will all watch us fall? I had considered what side I should stand on. The time I spent as you, and you as me, as you grew stronger was a gift, and I didn't want to lose that. No matter who inhabits this body, it would be normal, for we are one. Therefore, I offer you a choice. You can stay here in this dream, or I can send you back into the fray. You stated that you made your choice, but instead retreated with the monarchs. Because they didn't have a space for me. My response is the same. This is not where I should belong. Will this be the final time I see you? I asked. I will return to my rest, and you, the Shadow Monarch, will live an endless life. Thus our path will unlikely cross again. With death, your power has become absolute, I was told. The way back I know, because I am you. Arise. The deletion code initiated, a string of characters echoing into the void. Asterisk. A cascade of digital whispers followed. Player nurturing system has been entered. The very foundations of reality seemed to tremble, a tremor that resonated through the digital fabric of existence. A chilling pronouncement echoed next. The system will now be deleted. This was not mere deletion. It was an unraveling, a dismantling of the framework itself. Any power limits on the player will now be removed. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. With no more limitations of the power, all commander-rank shadow soldiers will regain their full power potential. This wasn't just about numbers. It was about a return to raw, unbridled strength. The echoes continued, each word a hammer blow to the established order. The power of commander-rank soldier, Igress, has been restored. A ripple effect, an invisible surge of energy. The abilities of commander-rank soldier, Barrow, have risen significantly. The very air crackled with the return of potent forces. And then, the name that sent shivers down the spines of even the most powerful beings. The Shadow Monarch, Ashborn, is returning to the world of eternal void. A question, both a choice and a challenge, hung in the digital ether. Would you really like to delete the system? A stark decision. A single word demanded, yes. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just a decisive, resolute, yes. The world shifted, reformed around a new focal point. Fragment of brilliant light, a voice, tinged with both fear and desperation, cut through the silence. The worst disaster is coming from the body of the human you are trying to protect. The accusations were pointed, dripping with distrust. Are you really trying to bring disaster upon this world by your own actions? Are you really risking your own existence to aid the Shadow Monarch's revival? The voice rose, laced with fury. At your own peril. Just what are you traitors thinking? There was a sense of urgency, a frantic realization that time was a luxury they no longer possessed. We don't have much time. The scene shifted to a different battlefield. This being, one voice hissed, laced with surprise. This being is anticipating the trajectory of my spear, the tragic tree, and moving accordingly. A formidable opponent, one that possessed an unnerving awareness of his adversary's intent. He moves like a seasoned warrior, another voice noted, a blend of begrudging respect and apprehension. He has seen countless battles. The movements were precise, not a wasted action, a mastery born of countless engagements. He is expertly avoiding the Frost Monarch's attacks and deflecting all of my attempts simultaneously. A display of tactical brilliance, a dance of power that left the onlookers shaken. "You being," roared a voice in anger. "I will tear you apart." The tension reached its peak as something fundamental shifted. A voice of realization, and also of dread. TS knows it now. He has messed up. The tide of the engagement seemed to turn in an instant. "That will not work on me again," a new voice countered, laced with confidence. "Let's attack now. I will intercept," the voice added, offering an alliance. "Stopping after coming this far?" A voice, thick with disbelief, questioned. "Are you out of your mind? Can't you feel it? The very essence surrounding us has started to cry." The weight of the moment became oppressive, a palpable dread permeating the air. The Shadow Monarch is coming. A reluctant withdrawal followed. "Count me out of this," but a sense of betrayal hangs in the air. "Didn't you promise to help me overcome the Shadow Monarch?" The voice questioned in disbelief. The response was cold, clinical. "My promise was limited only to the Shadow Monarch in his human form." The excuse was thin. "But since the actual sovereign is coming, I no longer have a promise to keep." A stark acknowledgement of the shifting landscape. "Even so, to see you running like a terrified beast, even though you are the Beast Monarch." The rebuke was sharp, tinged with scorn. "Frost Monarch, you wouldn't understand. You have yet to taste the full power of the Shadow Monarch. I shall pray for your fortune." The statement was laced with dark humor, a thinly veiled threat. "What a foolish being," a new voice scoffed. "Taste the terror of the frost, weakling." The power of the new attack began to reveal itself. "This is my true power." The force was immense. The landscape itself seemed to tremble. "Make sure not to get caught in it," a frantic warning echoed. "We are retreating. Everyone, leave this place at once." The call for retreat was urgent, a desperate plea to escape the approaching devastation. "Mere humans dare to challenge me," a voice bellowed, laced with condescension. "They challenge me without knowing their place." The words were a promise of retribution. "Azuraskans, your home is now trapped inside the eternal void. The void will house you along with the Shadow Monarch." Was this a promise to dismantle everything? Is he planning to eradicate this entire area? The possibility was terrifying. "Frost Monarch, do not assume the position of a king, with only that much power." The dismissive tone was laced with disdain. "Azuraskans," he broke out of my spell. "Does that mean the commander-rank shadow soldiers have regained their powers?" The pieces began to fall into place. A dangerous realization dawned. So that is why I shouldn't trust him, and that is why the beast fled? The suspicion turned to certainty. Who dares to abandon their posts without my permission? The question hung in the air, a chilling promise that the consequences would be dire. The tension hung heavy, a prelude to a battle that would reshape the very fabric of existence. The stage was set, the pieces were in play, and the Shadow Monarch had emerged, unbound and ready to claim what was his. A wall I cannot comprehend." The words were a murmur, a confession of bewilderment against an insurmountable barrier. A sense of disparity grew. "Isn't the gap between us too big?" The question hung in the air, a testament to an overwhelming imbalance of power. The scene shifted, revealing a figure poised for action. Here you are, the Frost Monarch. The voice carried a sharp edge, a mix of challenge and recognition. Instinct is leading you toward the Shadow Monarch's blind spot. An opportunity, fleeting and perilous, had presented itself. It was a chance that wouldn't come twice. A sense of urgency permeated the air. No matter how much of a power difference there is, you shouldn't look away from an adversary. The principle was clear, a code of conduct for those facing dire circumstances. If I miss this opportunity, the only thing awaiting me is a certain demise. I must finish this in one shot. The stakes were absolute, the potential consequences dire. Aren't you something? A voice remarked, an acknowledgement tinged with dark amusement. This is the power of the Shadow Monarch. The name itself was a declaration of immense ability, the greatest fragment of brilliant light, and one of the strongest monarchs. The statement was a pronouncement of authority and a clear assessment of the odds. The incomparable power that is the Shadow Monarch. The being's presence commanded respect and fear. You last here until I locate the beast. You wait here. The command was clear, a temporary holding action in a larger strategy. The energy of death has been strangling me, a voice whispered, its tone laced with regret. I regret escaping too late, just to argue with the Frost Monarch for no reason. A lament for a missed opportunity, a moment of pride that had led to a precarious situation. Now that things have turned out like this, I just have to hide out here until the King of Berserk Dragons comes. The hope was fragile, dependent on external intervention. A sudden change in the atmosphere, this energy, could it be? The voice was laced with a blend of dread and awe. The smell of death is overwhelming. I can't win, especially with my expert level, and I can't outrun such a difference in power. The words were a confession of overwhelming odds. The fear of power, learned through experiences. A deep-seated understanding of his limitations. Bow down. The command was sharp, absolute. Obey. My instincts were warning me. A primal recognition of an irresistible force. Shadow Monarch, I, the King of Beasts, do not wish to continue this conflict with you. A desperate plea for mercy. Please, forgive me for my atrocious actions, and accept me as your ally. Soon the King of Berserk Dragons will lead his soldiers here. Then the army of beasts and I will help you. The offer was a gamble, a desperate attempt at survival. All right, came the reply, an acknowledgement of the offer. Fool, a voice muttered, tinged with a mix of disdain and self-awareness. He is not the real one. A sharp recognition of deception. If the real Shadow Monarch was here, not only did I betray him once, but I also tried to dismantle the vessel of his descendant. A litany of past transgressions. He wouldn't even think of forgiving me. A realization of the precarious nature of their position. I've only been spared some time due to the humans' warm heart and naivety. The source of their reprieve was not to be relied on. All I have to do is wait for the King of Berserk Dragons to come. Their fate lay in the hands of another. When the time comes, I will gladly tear your being into pieces, and before that I need to pay you back for what you did. The promise was cold, a chilling declaration of intent. I will be loyal. A twisted sense of duty in this dire situation. 5 of your claws tore through my chest because of you. If you can withstand just 5 of my attacks, I will consider forgiving you. A test of strength and endurance. You are mocking me. The King of Beasts raged. This may be the end of me, but you won't be safe either. A final stand against the insurmountable force. From or left, a voice whispered, acknowledging the impossible position they faced. Besides that, there is a problem with the being on the ruler's side, treating humans like animals. The other one is a problem too. I've seen him before, one of the 2 wings of the Shadow Army, the Soldier of Death. Igris looks like he can use his full powers now. How inconvenient. They can recover until the Shadow Monarch's power runs out, but they can't regain magic used. With my apparition, this will be a challenge. The scope of the challenge was rapidly becoming clear, their very existence hanging in the balance. Don't do anything useless, a voice commanded, laced with impatience. How long do you think you can last against me? The question was a taunt, a challenge to an opponent outmatched on all fronts. This is the end of the King of Beasts. The words were a pronouncement, cold and absolute. Is he saying that he overcame the King of Beasts in minutes? The Monarch of Plagues, the King of Beasts, and the Frost Monarch. Their losses will serve as a warning to the other monarchs. The scale of the power had been made evident. The beast fell on the fourth blow. How long do you think you will last? The words were a cruel, final taunt. Everyone attack. The order sliced through the tension, a call to charge into a chaotic fray. Yet, the advance faltered, halted by an unexpected command. Nobody move. Why? A challenge arose, questioning the sudden shift in strategy. Why are you stopping us from attacking? Disbelief and frustration filled the air, confusion gripping the ranks. Stop attacking. Stop attacking. The plea echoed, a desperate attempt to control the escalating situation. Mr. Hunter Wayne, a voice called out, seeking clarity amidst the disorder. It's all right, Chairman, came the reply, a thin thread of reassurance in the face of uncertainty. Just what are they thinking? A voice murmured, laced with bewilderment. Are they really trying to engage with that many creatures without a long-distance assault? A critical observation, underscoring the apparent recklessness of the strategy. The air shifted, a new presence entering the scene. Grand Marshal Bellion, the Shadow Army, and I humbly present ourselves to our monarch. A formal declaration, a show of respect to an unseen authority. What is that? What the hell is going on? The tension rose, disbelief mixing with awe. Are you seeing that? Only one of them would be enough to endanger all of humanity. I can't believe there are three of them in one place. The scale of the situation was becoming terrifyingly clear. So this is the real Shadow Army, a voice whispered, a sense of wonder mingling with trepidation. Is this the legacy Ashbourne, the former Shadow Monarch, passed on to me? A moment of realization, a weight of responsibility settling onto a new bearer. The real war starts now, Korea's Hunter Association. A declaration, heralding a new phase in the unfolding events. A few days later, the narrative shifted, transitioning to a different setting. An emergency conference room, buzzed with anxious energy. Foreign media outlets are creating a mess, demanding a statement. The pressure was mounting, international attention focused on the unfolding events. The American Hunter Association is asking if we could make Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's location public. The demand for information was growing. The City Hall disaster headquarters are asking if they can allow the evacuated citizens to return home. A desire for normalcy clashed with the ongoing crisis. The Hunter Channel Jimmy Show is requesting an interview with Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. The media was clamoring for access. Jimmy my ass, a voice retorted dismissively. Tell them they can go interview him, if that's even possible. The task was viewed as unrealistic. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's summons happened to emerge at that moment. Do you think that there should have been magical beasts pouring out of that gigantic gate yesterday? Is that what you're saying? What? The questions were laced with frustration and disbelief. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. The response was hurried, defensive. If the calls were not from interview requests, but instead from families of the deceased hunters, asking if they were still living, do you think we could have handled everything with a "we are too busy" attitude? The question was harsh, a critique of their actions and their lack of focus. Over 100,000 magical beasts emerged from that gigantic gate, and they were absorbed by Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's troops. Could anyone have imagined this possible? The scale of the situation was truly unprecedented. I understand how surprised all of you may be due to Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's sudden disappearance. A voice attempted to interject, seeking to bring calm amidst the storm. But this isn't the first time he's been so elusive. It's about time we got used to it. A call for acceptance of the unpredictable nature of their ally. If we, the Hunter Association, can't understand Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's anguish, who else can? A moment of self-reflection, a recognition of their own limitations. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I misspoke, came the admission, acknowledging a misstep. I wonder what Hunter Sung Jin-Woo is doing right now. A voice mused, a mixture of curiosity and unease. The scene shifted once again to a different battleground, dividing the unit into two and conducting a preliminary test of strength. It's not like they can be hurt. A display of strategy and efficiency. My Legia, please demonstrate if I have the requirements of a Grand Marshal. A challenge presented, an eagerness to showcase their abilities. Requirements of a Grand Marshal? A moment of self-reflection. I, as a commander, will challenge Grand Marshal Bellion. A clear challenge was issued. Is he a sword type like Igress? He's much larger, including his sword, a voice observed. He must specialize in power, rather than speed. A tactical analysis of their adversary. Then, There is a chance of winning for Barrow, as well. The hope was subtle, a possibility in the face of daunting odds. Is it over already? Disbelief tinged the question. He neutralized Barrow's charge instantly. He has better reflexes than I expected. On top of that, each blow is powerful enough to shake the ground. Is this his way of demonstrating that he is more than qualified to be a Grand Marshal? But we should never relax our defense, since the most resilient strength of an insect is its tenacious vitality. A final warning. Beijing Capital International Airport. The narrative shifted, revealing a new setting and a new perspective. Oh, I see Hunter Liu Jigang over there. Here we see our proud hunters returning from assisting South Korea. While many are praising Liu for his valiant actions, there are a few voices questioning why we must assist South Korea. Is there anything you would like to say about this, Hunter Liu? Who has been speaking such nonsense? Excuse me? The question was posed with a sharp edge, an offense taken. Do they carry their heads as an ornament if they cannot even read a map? An aggressive tone, a challenge to the intellect of those who spoke out against their actions. Can you really not see what is looming just above South Korea? If you ever encounter an idiot who speaks such frustrating nonsense, tell them this. I, Liu Jigang, went to assist because I believe that I could not overcome any disaster that Hunter Sung Jin-Woo could not. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can go challenge those creatures themselves. A clear and firm rebuttal. No way, a voice whispered. Is that so? So the Shadow Monarch has switched sides. All right, I'll take care of him. You guys don't do anything further. Losses must be avoided. A new objective emerged. The decision was made. Soldiers, prepare for battle. A final command, preparing for a new confrontation. Everyone attack. The command echoed, a desperate call to action amidst a chaotic scene. Yet, the momentum faltered, the advance halted by an unexpected directive. Nobody move. Why? A challenge arose, questioning the sudden shift in strategy. Why are you stopping us from attacking? Disbelief and frustration filled the air, confusion clouding the ranks. Stop attacking. Stop attacking. The plea was repeated, a desperate attempt to control the volatile situation. Mr. Hunter Wayne, a voice called, seeking guidance amidst the disarray. It's all right, Chairman, came the reply, a fragile thread of reassurance in the face of mounting uncertainty. Just what are they thinking? A voice murmured, laced with incredulity. Are they really trying to engage with that many creatures without a long-distance barrage? A critical assessment, highlighting the seemingly reckless approach of their allies. Then, a shift occurred, a new presence entering the fray. Grand Marshal Bellion, the Shadow Army, and I humbly present ourselves to our monarch. A declaration, spoken with a formality that belied the raw power on display. What is that? What the heck is going on? The tension intensified, disbelief and awe mingling in the air. Are you seeing that? Just one of them would be enough to put all of humanity in danger. I can't believe there are 3 of them in one place. The scale of the situation became terrifyingly clear, the magnitude of the threat suddenly and undeniably apparent. So this is the real Shadow Army, a voice whispered, a sense of wonder tinged with apprehension. Is this the legacy Ashbourne, the former Shadow Monarch, passed on to me? A moment of realization, the weight of responsibility settling upon a new figure. The real war starts now, Korea's Hunter Association. A stark declaration, signaling a new phase of engagement. A few days later, the narrative shifted, transitioning to a different location and a new set of challenges. An emergency conference room, buzzed with restless energy. Foreign media outlets are creating a mess, demanding a statement. The pressure was mounting, international attention fixed on the unfolding events. The American Hunter Association is asking if we could make Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's location public. Demands for information were growing louder. The City Hall disaster headquarters are asking if they can permit the evacuated citizens to return home. The desire for normalcy was clashing with the ongoing chaos. The Hunter Channel Jimmy Show is requesting an interview with Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. The media clamored for access, their inquiries adding to the mounting pressure. Jimmy, my foot, a voice scoffed dismissively. Tell them they can interview him if that's even possible. The task was deemed unrealistic. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's summons happened to emerge at that moment. So you think there should have been magical beasts pouring out of that massive gate yesterday? Is that what you're saying? What? The questions were sharp, laced with frustration and disbelief. Oh, I didn't mean it like that, a voice responded hastily, backpedaling from the statement. If the calls weren't from interview requests, but instead from the families of the missing hunters, asking if they were alive, do you think we could have managed everything with our "we are too busy" attitude? The question was critical, a harsh judgment of their priorities. Over 100,000 magical creatures came out of that massive gate, and they were all absorbed by Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's troops. Could anyone have imagined something like this? The enormity of the situation was almost beyond comprehension. I understand how surprised all of you may be due to Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's sudden disappearance. A voice tried to interject, seeking to bring calm amidst the chaos. But this isn't the first time he has been so elusive. It's about time we get accustomed to it. A call for patience, a plea to accept the unpredictable nature of their ally. If we, the Hunter Association, cannot understand Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's suffering, who else can I apologize to, Mr. Chairman? The voice was filled with regret, taking responsibility for the criticism. I misspoke, came the admission, acknowledging their error. I wonder what Hunter Sung Jin-Woo is doing right now, a voice pondered, curiosity mixed with a subtle hint of concern. The scene shifted once more, to a different kind of testing ground. Dividing the unit into two, and fighting a preliminary skirmish. I never thought of that. It's not like they can be eliminated. A display of strategic planning and absolute confidence. My Legia, please test if I possess the qualities of a Grand Marshal. A challenge was presented, an eagerness to prove their capabilities. Qualities of a Grand Marshal? A moment of self-assessment before embarking on the demonstration. I, as a commander, will challenge Grand Marshal Bellion. A bold declaration of intention. Is he a sword type, like Igress? He's much larger than Igress, including his weapon, a voice noted, observing the opponent closely. He must specialize in power rather than speed. An analytical assessment of their fighting style. Then, there is a chance of winning for Barrow, as well. The response offered a glimmer of hope. Is it over already? A voice questioned, disbelief evident in their tone. He neutralized Barrow's charge instantly. His reflexes are more refined than I anticipated. Furthermore, each blow is forceful enough to shake the ground. Is this his way of indicating that he is more than capable to be a Grand Marshal? But one should never become careless, since the greatest strength of any creature is its stubborn tenacity. A final piece of strategic advice. Beijing Capital International Airport. The setting shifted, presenting a new location and perspective. Oh, I see Hunter Liu Jigang over there. Here we see our proud hunters returning from aiding South Korea. While many are praising Liu for his brave efforts, some voices are questioning why we needed to help South Korea. Is there anything you would like to say about this, Hunter Liu? Who has been speaking such nonsense? Excuse me? The question was sharp, filled with offense. Do those individuals have heads as ornaments, if they can't even interpret a map? The tone was aggressive, critical of those who oppose the mission. Can you not comprehend what is looming above South Korea? If you happen upon an imbecile who voices such frustrating nonsense, tell them this. I, Liu Jigang, went to help, because I was unsure I could manage any disaster that Hunter Sung Jin-Woo could not handle. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can confront the creatures themselves. The statement was bold and assertive. No way, a voice murmured in disbelief. Is that so? So the Shadow Monarch ended up switching sides. All right, I'll handle him. You guys don't participate any further. Losses must be avoided. A new objective was presented, a decisive shift in the balance of power. Soldiers, prepare for battle. A final command, heralding the approach of a new confrontation. Kiki, my Legia, a voice murmured softly, filled with a deep affection. Kiki can still go on, Beru. The tone was determined, resilient. Why are you so focused on becoming the Grand Marshal? Another voice asked, a question of motive. Kiki, I shall become the Grand Marshal, came the immediate reply, unwavering in its resolve. And always be by your side, my Legia, the speaker added, solidifying the bond between them. Then the Grand Marshal can stand on my right, and you can be on my left, they stated, outlining a future built upon loyalty and companionship. The king's favor is Iron Man dash. A joyful exclamation, filled with admiration. Don't, my liege, a voice cautioned softly. Please, also allow me to have a chance to compete with the dash. The desire for challenge, for growth, was apparent. You can be behind me, huh? The response was thoughtful, filled with affection. What are those beings doing? A new voice entered the conversation, observing the subtle changes occurring around them. Isn't it unfair to be holding the marble of greed? The question was laced with a touch of skepticism. What are they preparing? Another voice inquired, curiosity rising. They are planning on making a small resting place, so you can rest comfortably while we are here, came the explanation. My Legia, did Beru order this? A voice questioned, appreciation evident in their tone. I must inform people of the 8 armies that could arrive at any moment, a voice declared, the tone shifting to one of seriousness. I have to let them know that a conflict is approaching. I cannot promise the safety of everyone, nor can I promise that the world will remain unchanged. The words were stark, a realization of the harsh truth that lay ahead. That's how immense the King of Dragons' power was, when I saw it through Ashbourne's memories. The memory was a chilling one. Mom, how is it? Isn't it delicious? A gentler tone filled the air. I had no idea that my brother could prepare something this well. The moment was a brief respite, a reminder of normal life amidst chaos. The King of Dragons and its army of destruction reduced all before them to ruin, and these adversaries now target Earth. The voice stated. The threat was clear. You should have a try too. Brother is very skilled at preparing sides as well. The tone was warm, filled with affection. And that is why everyone must prepare themselves for what's to come, Jin-Woo. A warning was given. Is something going on? Jin-Woo asked, sensing the subtle shifts in atmosphere. Hey, what are you speaking about? When your dad was about to embark on something risky, he often prepared a meal like this for me. The past echoed ominously. You really do take after your father. The observation was spoken with tenderness. It's not like that, Mom. I believe we have a visitor. A new element had been introduced. I'll go to greet them. Huh? But there wasn't even a doorbell, the voice questioned, laced with surprise. What is the matter, Hunter-son? The question was direct, demanding an explanation. I apologize for arriving without notice, but would you please give us some of your time? The request was polite, but the underlying tension was undeniable. I believed that my awakening from my endless slumber was because I was special, but then I understood that such occurrences don't occur so easily. A revelation of humility. And since the only beings who have ever woken from that sleep were your mother and I was forced to think that you were somehow connected. The explanation continued. Why did you help me? The question was straightforward, seeking an honest reply. I concluded that you are a person worthy of trust. Had you been someone who would do anything to obtain what you desire, I wouldn't have risked my well-being to save you. The answer was blunt and to the point. So that means it is because I did not try to take advantage of Jinho. Understanding began to dawn. Yes, and I do not know how to properly express my gratitude. Please, allow me to repay at least half. No, half of your favor. I implore you, what is it you want? The offer was genuine, a heartfelt desire to reciprocate. I don't have any desires for myself. However, should something come to pass, could you please look after my mother and sister? The request was simple, yet carried a tremendous weight. Would that truly be enough? The question was laced with a mix of doubt and concern. Yes, it would be plenty. The reply was firm, assuring the speaker that it would be more than enough. Isn't the taste a little salty? A question was posed about the prepared food. I understand. Please, leave everything to me. I will give you my word. The promise was made, sealed with intent. This is the immense gate in Shanghai, China. But it's not only in China. 8 colossal gates have appeared globally, nearly simultaneously. A report was given. Hunting in, do you believe those forces are your armies? The question was directed toward another. No, they are not. They are our enemies. The answer was absolute, chilling. Chairman, do you have trust in me? The question was direct, seeking confirmation. Yes, I do. The reply was immediate. Then, please trust what I am about to show you. A request for faith, before an earth-shattering revelation. How can such things be possible? A voice exclaimed, filled with disbelief. I always thought that the gods had granted unique abilities to a small portion of humanity, and that is the reason we had to protect humankind by confronting the demonic beasts. But if what you are showing me is really the truth, then my beliefs have been foolish. I have misunderstood everything. Their entire worldview was being challenged. To consider that hunters and awakeners are the only beings that could survive the real conflict, as if they are eliminating certain beings to have only some humans alive. This is not a conflict between humans and the monarchs. It is a war between the monarchs and the rulers, between two groups with unimaginable power. How could this be happening, Hunter-son? And you are thinking of going up against such adversaries all by yourself? The sheer impossibility of the situation was clear. Yes, came the simple reply. Then what should we do? How could we possibly offer assistance? The questions came fast, revealing the utter helplessness of the situation. Did anyone else mention they would be coming? A new question, seeking specifics about other incoming forces. No, sir. Only the 152 countries I reported to you this morning. Are all of them just? The reply was filled with concern. What did Hunter-son tell you in your office yesterday? I've never seen you look that pale. A pointed question was made. I apologize. I shouldn't have asked. It's fine. The army of dragons emerging from within the shadows and the enormous dragon flying behind them, that has a majesty such that even if all the hunters of the world combined against it, they wouldn't even leave a scratch, and the oppressive power that was enough to reduce all land to ashes with a single breath. The speaker was clearly shaken by the encounter. How can Hunter-son possibly consider going up against them? Huntin in, it's Weijenchel. I have gathered the representatives from all the countries. As you instructed, a report came through. Where are you right now? Yes, I just arrived. I guess asking your location now is meaningless. There will be widespread chaos when people discover the truth. Some nations will be unable to manage it. I am very aware, the speaker stated, knowing the ramifications of what they were about to do. If that's what you believe, then the truth will be made known to the entire world. A voice, smooth and measured, broke the silence. There's quite a gathering here today. So many influential figures, all feeling the pressure, no doubt. The speaker, his face unreadable, continued. It would be advantageous, wouldn't it, if Hunter Sung Jin-Woo were to offer some reassuring words? A statement that these gateways, they'll pose minimal threat, much like before? A subtle shift in the hall. The hope, barely concealed, of a quick resolution, a simple reassurance. But the voice cut through the rising optimism. If Hunter Sung were to say something drastically different, I fear many would face a grueling struggle, a contest none could evade. They'd appear before our very eyes and bring a great upheaval. A ripple of unease spread through the room. Whispers erupted, questioning the validity of the claim. A man, his voice laced with skepticism, dared to challenge the speaker. Why should we believe this? That even national-level hunters will be inadequate to stop this? Are you saying hundreds of entities, with the power of that catastrophic event, will emerge? He hesitated, the name Kamish a chilling reminder of past devastation. It's simply unbelievable. Another voice, laced with urgency, joined the chorus. Proof. Give us tangible proof, or we will refuse to accept this outlandish claim. A murmur of agreement spread like wildfire through the assembly. You expect us to believe that hundreds, with such destructive capabilities, will suddenly materialize? A pregnant pause followed, filled with the charged energy of disbelief and barely contained panic. Suddenly, the room grew colder, a tangible chill descending as several portals, shimmering with unnatural energy, began to materialize in the hall. They appeared without fanfare, disrupting the pristine environment. How? The word was a strangled whisper. How is this possible? A man, his face pale, stammered. Aren't these gateways? A wave of comprehension washed over the crowd as the speaker, his tone devoid of triumph, responded. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo created them. Multiple gateways, all at once. He paused, letting the impact of his words sink in. And that is the key. Our adversaries can materialize gateways whenever and wherever they choose, just as I've done here. They are only delaying their advance due to the sheer magnitude of their forces. A low hum of dread now permeated the hall. Suspicion, sharp and venomous, now took hold. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, a woman accused, her voice trembling. Could it be you are aligned with them? The entities you brought from that previous gateway, did you bring them to harm us? Another chimed in. Of course, we trust you. But if we know what's to come, what action is to be taken? The speaker, his expression still calm, offered a simple instruction. Stay far from the gateways. Distance yourselves as much as possible. His words echoed in the hall, a chilling premonition of the chaos to come. News of the conference spread like wildfire. A warning, stark and terrifying, had been delivered. Humanity was facing an insurmountable threat. Panic set in as people desperately sought distance from the mysterious gateways. Cities emptied, highways clogged as the populace fled, the fear a tangible weight on every heart. Across the desolate expanse, within one of the newly materialized gateways, a figure stood, assessing the bleak surroundings. Barrow, he called, his voice echoing in the silent expanse. Come here. A massive form lumbered into view, its features contorted in displeasure. You call this a proper place? It barely contains me. Is this meant for me to reside in? A smaller figure approached, a sly smile on its face. I believed nothing less would satisfy you. He gestured to a flag planted at the edge of the gateway. Mileage, why did you place that flag? Was that your scheme? What happens to an army when its monarch is no longer? Would you control my shadow army? Barrow's voice, deep and ominous, resounded. If you are to cease to be, so too will our existences be extinguished. Our lives are one with yours, Mileage. The smaller figure responded. Their loyalty is both a boon and a curse. They put their master's life above their own. Our enemies will seek to use this. A figure stepped closer, his face grim. My liege, in open combat we are at a great disadvantage. What is their army like? I estimate their forces to be 100-fold greater, the smaller figure replied, his tone somber. At least 10 million individuals. The large figure scoffed. That is what I would have said to Hunter Sung Jin-Woo if I had his details. A world away, in Canada, a figure addressed a gathering of hunters. No matter how great of a hunter he may be, not everything he says is the truth. We won't let him claim all the gates for himself. The Canadian hunter's confidence was matched by their preparations. Other powerful hunters were now gathered across the world, preparing to confront what would come through the gateways. A decision was made, a division of efforts. I will head to China. I cannot combat 8 armies at once. I will deal with the closest threat to my family first, and then handle the rest of them. News trickled in, reaching the speaker as he prepared for his upcoming confrontation. Japan and Russia are assisting Hunter Sung, whilst Canada is determined to face it alone. Canada? They will not survive. He turned to face the ominous portals ahead. It seems that those who do not heed my words are foolish indeed. In China, the speaker had arrived. The airport teemed with crowds. It was apparent that the local government was not here, but instead, a group of individuals, all standing near a large, ominous gateway. They were making idiotic signs, so I decided to greet you personally, so we are seen from the airport. And this is the gateway, and these are the 100,000 hunters of China. 100,000? This must be their elite. He watched the soldiers standing, waiting for something. Suddenly, a vast shadow descended from the sky. Figures, dark and imposing, fell to the earth, their presence filling the horizon. Those will all land here. A man muttered, his eyes wide with fear. Another questioned, is that all your summons? One of the shadows approached the speaker and demanded, the left of the king is my place. Who dares take my spot? He is on our side, replied the smaller figure. It can communicate with them. The portal began to shift. The gateway is opening. A ripple of confusion swept across the hunters of China, for nothing was emerging. It's strange. I cannot feel anything from the gateway. What about the other locations? They are the same. All of the gateways are empty. A realization struck the speaker like a blow. I made an error. I believed their forces would be divided across multiple gateways. Instead, they have gathered all of their forces into one single point, as far away from me as they could. To think everyone is mindlessly relying on Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, a woman commented from afar. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo chooses to head to China whilst Japan and Russia have agreed to assist him. We will not give up on Canada. We will win, no matter what. At that moment, the portal began to open as a single figure stepped through. Strange, the woman commented. There's only one of them, a human. That's just a person. The lone figure approached the stunned hunters. Are you the king of this place? That's no demonic beast. One of the gathered hunters said. Another followed. Demonic beasts are able to make their own gear and use the runic alphabet. They have levels of intelligence on par with us. They just don't wish to communicate until now. I knew it was like this. The reason Hunter Sung was able to make the soldiers from the gateway his own is because he was able to communicate. The lone figure now spoke directly to the shocked onlookers. So what if I am the king? I cannot confirm what's going on in Canada. Hold on, I have Adam White of the Hunters Bureau on the line. Adam, what is going on at Canada's Colossal Gate? We're on the side of Canada's Colossal Gateway together with other agents. Why are you there? We cannot just sit and watch Canada. A lot of agents are with me. They still don't realize the scope of the enemy. Have there been any changes at the gate? No, it seems that it was empty, like the others. That's a relief. Hold on a second. Something is coming out of the gate. It's a person. A person? Adam, move. Move as fast as you can. The hunters. They turned to ash instantly. Adam, get out of there. Dragons from the sky. There are countless dragons and beasts. At that moment, the speaker of the conference reached out, his power pulsing, ready to activate. We will be teleporting now, Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. But a menacing voice echoed across the land. Where do you think you're going, Shadow Hunter? Sun-Eye? Hunter Sun. I, the voice echoed, a low growl, carrying through the desolate landscape. It was a stark declaration, a challenge hurled into the face of the gathering storm. Damn it, came the reply, a mixture of frustration and grim understanding. I should have anticipated this. The figure, cloaked in shadow, moved with a purpose that belied the chaotic circumstances. Knowing they face my shadow army, which grows stronger with every drawn-out engagement, it's logical they would minimize the battles. He paused, analyzing the situation. They opened 8 gateways, as if following their initial plan. But they then diverted their entire force towards a single point, the furthest gate from me. My strategic miscalculation. A wave of self-reproach washed over him. Even if I moved there immediately, it would be an all-out clash. My time-buying tactic has failed miserably. He looked to the west, imagining the battle raging on the horizon. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, humanity in Canada. Can I truly do nothing to change this? A low, haunting sound filled the air. The thrum of a heartbeat, the piercing echo of desperate cries, and the tearing symphony of destruction. It resonated, a twisted melody. Yes, a cold voice hissed, preparations are complete. Reduce everything to ashes. This is our purpose, the very reason for our being. Across the ravaged land, the echoes of conflict grew. They must all be gone, a frantic voice reported. The hunters, the agents, the reporters, hundreds of dragons, and waves of giants, beasts and insects, behind them. This onslaught is beyond anything humanity can withstand. The words were a chilling prophecy, a declaration of an end. They are all gone. It's all over. It's just a matter of time before they arrive in the U.S. The voice, laced with despair, continued. Now I comprehend why Hunter's son cautioned everyone to remain far from the gates. This world is finished. That's correct. It's finished. A new voice cut through the despair, smooth and even. Hunter's son, I am paying you a sudden visit because I am searching for something. Rhinestones? A stunned silence followed. Please hand over the rhinestones left behind by Kamish. As you likely know, the Hunter's Bureau manages them. The voice paused, a hint of sardonic humor coloring his tone. What am I even saying? Why does the Hunter's Bureau even matter any longer? Those rhinestones mean nothing when everything, including the Hunter's Bureau, is about to be swept away. Excuse me, the man replied, the shock giving way to confusion. I believe I am still intoxicated. I can relinquish the rhinestones, but why are they so important? I intend to use them to initiate a counterattack, the new arrival declared. Didn't you mention that beings called rulers sent those forces here? Then, these rhinestones, found within the bodies of the entities, what are they? The arrival elaborated. They are gifts from the rulers, meant to assist humans in hunting down demonic entities more efficiently. The rulers desire intense conflict between humans and those entities. The sacrifice of humanity is a side effect of creating the conditions in which mana may take root here. When a demonic beast ceases to be, their abilities are sealed within these rhinestones. His voice grew more urgent. The rulers created these to assist humans in engaging the beasts. Can you truly stop them using these? I must attempt it. I need one more favor from you. A thoughtful silence fell. I never imagined anyone would be searching for me at such a time. Another voice, soft and laced with a deep sense of foreboding, broke through. You are not as you once were. A deep darkness has always been within you, but now you are the darkness itself. I am the same individual you knew, madam. I have simply become one with the darkness that you perceived, he replied. Back then, you told me you could envision the future, so I request you to look into mine. A profound silence filled the air, broken only when the woman whispered, I understand. Her voice was heavy with concern. You plan to take this entire situation on by yourself? How can a single person bear such a burden? Do you plan to protect everything, at the cost of your own essence? She seemed to understand. That means I can make it there at least. What do you mean, thankfully? This will be a lonely struggle, with no one left to recall it. Please, excuse me for this sudden visit and this strange request, Hunter Sunday. The scene shifted. It's me, Jin-Woo. A voice, both familiar and distant, called out. Are you truly Jin-Woo? Yes, I am. I apologize. I have been occupied recently. It's okay. I have also been very busy. It has been quite some time since we last interacted. A bittersweet moment amidst the chaos. Since we have both been so busy, let's meet again soon. The response was immediate. Yes, let us. A somber request followed. Jin-Woo, can you promise me you will come and visit me? The answer was equally clear. Yes, I promise. I will go see you. We should be departing now, another voice chimed in. Yes. News reports flickered across screens, images of devastation flashing by. The Asian Hunter Alliance, the European Hunter Alliance, the African Temporary Guild Union, and the Chinese Emergency Response Alliance. Hundreds of thousands of hunters are converging to engage the enemy. I am right here, the voice echoed, no longer in a whisper. I have already reduced tens of millions of your kind to ash. A challenge was laid bare. How long do you intend to remain hidden? I will be meeting with you soon. He's been silent ever since, a voice, tinged with apprehension, cut through the hushed atmosphere. Just what is he attempting to accomplish? The speaker's words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken questions. Another voice, calmer but equally concerned, offered a possible explanation. Well, facing an army of 10 million, an open confrontation would be nothing short of self-destruction. Perhaps he has retreated, fallen back to a place unseen, a distant space beyond our reach. The uncertainty was palpable, a tangible pressure building as they waited for some sign, some indication of his plan. Then, a new voice broke the tension. We hit the target. A sense of relief, cautious but present, washed over the group. We cannot be certain by observation alone, but I believe that this time it was successful. A strange, unsettling quiet followed. Then, a single, chilling word cut through the silence. How boring. The statement hung there, devoid of emotion, hinting at a power that transcended the current situation. My liege, a voice exclaimed, filled with concern. Thank you, Baru. The response was calm, a simple acknowledgement of the being's presence. Oh no, a different voice cried out. My liege, it is far too dangerous. I understand your concerns, my loyal subjects. A voice, resonating with calm assurance, replied. I know you worry for my safety. However, there are moments when the specter of adversity cannot stop me from doing what is necessary. He paused, a hint of melancholy in his tone. Ashbourne, my predecessor. I believe I understand this part of him. He continued. If he were in this situation, I wonder what he would have done. He would not allow anything to prevent him from fulfilling his duty. A beat of silence, and then the statement, he resembles me. A voice, laced with admiration, broke the silence. I understand. A moment passed, then, I will stand beside you until the very end, my liege. A simple, but firm, reply followed. Very well. Should you not make contact with your family? Another voice inquired, a touch of concern edging its tone. The reply was immediate and filled with resolve. No. If I were to hear my family's voices at this moment, I doubt I would have the strength to continue. The quiet was broken by a new statement. Let's go. It was a simple sentence, but it carried with it the weight of the moment, the resolve of a person set on a course from which there was no retreat. A cacophony of sounds erupted as the world warped. A moment of disorientation, then a single, enraged bellow pierced the air. You. A new scene unfolded. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. A voice addressed him, its tone filled with a mixture of surprise and caution. Go where? The question, tinged with a blend of apprehension and disbelief, hung in the air. Then, a voice, strong and resolute, cut through the chaos. This is the first step of the war. A brief pause, and then, I will begin with these. Arise. The words hung in the air, a command that sent ripples of unseen power through the world. The shadow monarch has appeared on the eastern side. A voice, laced with a mixture of unease and anticipation, reported. Should we immediately mobilize our entire force and engage him? Another voice, more analytical, responded. I cannot detect his shadow army within his aura. He is acting alone, without his forces. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the ranks. Is he intending to overpower all of our troops here, adding them to his army? It seems he wishes to avoid an open conflict and instead seek to buy time. The speaker's tone was wary. Shadow Monarch, what are you planning? News reports flickered across screens, painting a grim picture. As contact is lost with the hunters attempting to halt the entities, the U.S. military has commenced a wide-scale evacuation of civilians. A voice, filled with concern, added, and they're attempting to buy time. The tragedy unfolding around the globe, another commentator announced, his voice heavy. The mighty U.S., who stationed a majority of their forces in Canada, is crumbling at the hands of those entities. All we can do now is pray for a miracle. But what miracle could stop such a force? A different voice exclaimed, laced with desperation. A miracle, please do not leave us. Then, a new report, seemingly contradicting the previous despair, filled the air. Tens of thousands of new shadow warriors have joined the Shadow Army. It is like a massive wave, engulfing all before it. The shadow is rapidly spreading across the battlefield. A shift in perspective followed as the story switched to a different perspective. Has the army of ruins begun to move? A voice, tinged with frustration, inquired. I cannot sense the dragon monarch. A long, drawn-out sigh filled the air. Another voice, calm and measured, cut through the tension. There is no need for disappointment. There remains much time. It paused, adding, if he is hesitant to advance, I shall offer him a compelling reason to rise. A sudden burst of energy erupted. How dare these puppets formed from mana attempt to impede the dragon monarch? A voice, filled with haughty rage, exclaimed, this servant of the dragon monarch will disperse you. Blah, blah. A calm voice responded, filled with indifference. You talk too much. The shadow monarch grows more powerful each moment, a report announced, as the tide of the conflict continued to shift. Engage him, monarch of transfiguration. You stay here and prepare an unexpected advance against the Shadow Army. Understood, a voice, filled with cold purpose, replied. Do not fail us. Use every resource at your disposal. If you connect with their limbs, you will, at least, hinder their progress. The words were barked out, a desperate attempt to stem the tide. We must continue the engagement until the arrival of the hunters. A new voice cut through the fray. I have faced these individuals in the dungeons. They are from the Scavenger Guild. They commanded an army but were not particularly powerful. Thomas Andre has also arrived. A moment of stunned silence. Then, a new voice, filled with recognition, spoke. You are that human I encountered back then, a feeble underling of the rulers, who dared to confront the beast monarch. I am the king of monstrous humanoids, the Iron Body Monarch. I am certain you understand that I can disarm you before you can react. Are you still willing to stand against me? I don't know. A voice, casual and unconcerned, responded. I hate challenges anyway. It paused and then, oh, long time no see. The king of monstrous humanoids. How did the Shadow Army arrive? A confused voice inquired. Were they concealed within the shadow of that human? We have been ambushed. A panicked tone rose. I must make contact with Antares. Why can't I reach him? This strategy does not align with the Shadow Army or the Shadow Monarch himself. A voice, filled with disbelief, murmured. This is not the style of the Shadow Army, who would face their adversaries directly, sentencing them to certain doom. Then, a different voice, filled with an understanding of the situation, spoke up. This is the strategy of humans. The voice was heavy with disapproval. He has no right to be called a monarch. Withdraw that statement immediately, a new voice thundered, filled with rage. The cost for slandering my liege is severe. A menacing tone filled the air, and then the final words were spoken. How dare a mere soldier stand in the way of a monarch? I can't establish contact with the Iron Body Monarch. A voice, thick with suspicion, declared. Has he betrayed me? Or is this one of your schemes? The speaker's tone was sharp, filled with distrust. I must stop him at all costs. The scene shifted, revealing a landscape dominated by towering giants. Mere giants pose no challenge, as long as it's not a naval engagement. A voice, cold and confident, announced. Mana surges across the continent, creating the conditions for a grand confrontation. Countless hunters, countless monsters, an all-out conflict. Especially with this one. An unseen force pulsed through the air, causing a tangible shift in the atmosphere. A wavelength piercing through me, even from this distance. A voice muttered, apprehension creeping into its tone. It appears the conflict has commenced on their side as well. The focus shifted again, revealing a scene of conflict. Are those paltry soldiers all you can offer? A voice, laced with derision, mocked. Sending your main force against the Iron Monarch, while deploying a mere few thousand to face me. Simply unbelievable. A figure, shrouded in shadow, began to move. Are you attempting to evade me? A voice, filled with fury, called out. I will not permit you to escape. Have you already absorbed the Iron Monarch's forces? A voice, now laced with realization, questioned. So, your intention was to overwhelm the Iron Monarch with your main force, then contend with me once I had pursued you alone. A pause followed, not a poor strategy, but this is farcical. Dear Shadow Monarch. The tone shifted, becoming menacing and cold. You likely believe that only I could pursue you. You were mistaken. The voice continued, these are the gateways crafted by the Monarch of Transfiguration. A sinister chuckle filled the air. Therefore, I am free to call upon my forces as I see fit. Your strategy has failed miserably. The speaker's tone grew confident. This miscalculation will be your undoing. You have lost. And summon you, redirecting everything to its origin, a voice declared, filled with dark purpose. Surely, you haven't conceded already? A moment of silence, then, indeed. You too must comprehend the magnitude of the disparity between us. Therefore, I understand your surrender. A sudden surge of energy shook the ground. Is this possible? You, a voice, filled with disbelief, stammered. Not only is this the most unfortunate ability from Kamish's runestone, it indiscriminately affects both ally and adversary, another voice exclaimed, a growing sense of dread filling the air. A soul's cry, designed to induce despair. An ominous sound began to fill the space. Dragons. The dragons were anticipated, a calm voice noted. However, it even immobilized the army. You must adhere to my command. A moment of understanding followed. Was this his intention from the very start? The scene shifted, a desolate landscape extending into the distance. This location, the other side of the world. Considering the number of forces at your command, a full engagement would have granted you an advantage. However, it would have drained an astronomical amount of mana. The voice, now tinged with a dark admiration, continued, isolating me here was a remarkably crafted plan. Is that your castle? It is. So, this is the Shadow Monarch's castle. It's rather underwhelming. The final words, heavy with menace, were delivered. Even so, I deem it sufficient for your conclusion. The outcome of this engagement will be decided by the swiftness of my forces' arrival. The flames of war are consuming all of U.S. territory, a voice, tinged with despair, reported. All manner of beings are running wild, spreading chaos throughout the region. The speaker paused, adding, I never imagined Hunter Sung was speaking the truth. Another voice, tinged with helplessness, broke in, what action do we take now? Another voice, attempting to instill some hope, responded, he is not our sole champion. Hunters from every corner of the globe have thrown themselves into the conflict, whether they are E-ranks or S-ranks. A somber analysis followed. The capabilities of an E-rank hunter are just marginally superior to that of a standard human. Other than the fact that they carry enchanted weapons, unlike regular soldiers, they are not capable of greatly influencing the outcome of a battle. The speaker continued, and the same can be said for C-ranks and D-ranks. When an E-rank hunter faces a single entity, a D-rank hunter might engage 3. A C-rank, perhaps 10. This is the truth, even for S-ranks, the speaker elaborated, their tone heavy with reality. Even though they might be able to subdue hundreds, even thousands, eventually, they will all be overcome, like stars in the night, fading one by one. A glimmer of hope, however faint, managed to pierce through the despair. However, the voice continued, when those individual stars fall, creating patterns in the sky, they, ever so faintly, illuminate the future. People call this Hope. Hunter Sung seems to have successfully drawn them to a remote, uninhabited island off the coast of Japan. A new voice reported, bringing a glimmer of hope. I recall Hunter Sung explaining something to me. He stated that there is an island, roughly 10 kilometers in size, where a giant's gateway imploded, unleashing an extraordinary amount of mana across the land. If the battle were to take place there, the speaker continued, we might be able to minimize the extent of the devastation. Another voice, filled with understanding, exclaimed, is this the reason he has been concealed in such a place this entire time? A moment of contemplation passed, and then, should we deploy some hunters there? As a precaution? What type of hunters could we possibly send there? Another voice asked, the question laced with skepticism. We could send E-rank hunters. The words were spoken with a hint of resignation. Then, a new voice spoke, filled with sudden understanding. Did you know that Hunter Sung himself was once an E-rank hunter? It is within the realm of possibility for an E-rank hunter to ascend and become a hero. The perspective shifted again, moving to the center of the conflict. I believe everything is proceeding smoothly. A voice, tinged with amusement, declared, how amusing. I enjoy engagements in which I overwhelm my opponents with sheer numbers. But I also find the opposite situation quite amusing. Allow me to present you with a genuine experience. A voice roared, filled with a dark energy. Dragon fear. An attack from the King of Dragons. A moment of panic ensued. I cannot manage my shadow soldiers in this manner. Cancel summon. The figure continued to issue commands. Return, Kaisel. This is the authentic experience. The avatar of destruction. A booming voice proclaimed, laced with sinister purpose. One who does not hesitate to make any sacrifice for the sake of a raging conflict. The speaker continued, the culmination of blood, screams, madness, and destruction. Beings created solely for the purpose of conflict. That is me and Antares, the King of Dragons, the monarch of destruction. The vast amount of mana left behind when the giant king was destroyed. It must have sunk deep into the ground. A voice, filled with awe, muttered. And yet, it failed to last against such a force? Even our most resilient soldiers would be utterly erased if they were directly exposed to that breath. You need not be so anxious, Shadow Monarch. A new voice, smooth and measured, declared, cutting through the chaos. When you seized my arm, I could have easily broken free. However, I did not. The voice continued, because your actions impressed me by driving me into a corner. And as a fellow monarch, the speaker continued, I felt a need for a quiet discussion. If you have inherited the previous Shadow Monarch's memories, you must already know that our true enemy is not this world, but forces beyond the skies, the armies of the rulers. Their only function in existence is to destroy the monarchs born from darkness. And you are no exception to this. I had intended to subdue you and prepare to engage them. However, after witnessing your style of engagement, I have changed my mind, the voice continued. You have a unique set of talents, unlike Ashbourne, and I can foresee a glorious victory made possible through your abilities. If you wish for me to preserve your family, I will. If you want me to preserve your country, I will. If you want me and my forces to leave, I will. You have the qualifications to own this entire planet, and not just that castle in the hills. I mean this entire world. The speaker paused, then offered an alliance. All you need to do is grasp my hand. If we combine our forces, we can overcome the soldiers of the rulers. Your family, your country, and this planet will regain peace and freedom. How about it? Shadow Monarch, will you align with me? Do not cause me to laugh, a voice, tinged with disbelief, replied. You anticipate that I will believe you, when your gaze betrays an intense desire to overcome me? The air grew heavy. I suppose I cannot conceal it any longer. This was my final act of courtesy towards you, the speaker replied, the tone growing increasingly cold. Then prepare yourself, Shadow Monarch. Did that attack not even leave a mark? A voice, laced with disbelief, questioned. You cannot affect me with such feeble strikes. A figure, radiating an intimidating power, seemed unfazed by the onslaught. Let us depart from here, Kaisel, a new voice commanded, filled with urgency. Dragon fear. The words were a desperate attempt to gain an advantage, a retreat disguised as a tactical maneuver. You will likely not be subdued by such things, a voice declared, calm despite the chaos. The scene shifted, the focus now on the formidable figure, seemingly unaffected by the previous attacks. Are the flames of the ancient dragons, those which Belian used to command, truly ineffective? A voice, filled with disbelief, inquired. He possesses a magnitude of power and resilience, unimaginable compared to any I have encountered so far. The speaker paused, adding, I cannot use my typical combat style against the King of Dragons. I require a stronger force. I require power. A moment of introspection followed. A power that can subdue an armored mountain with my own bare hands. A weight that can shatter any armor. The speaker's words were filled with a burning desire for strength. Are you attempting to engage me with that puny shadow? A voice, filled with disdain, mocked. A pause and then, what is this? A new energy began to swirl around the battlefield, drawing the attention of every being present. The power of darkness, it's flowing towards that individual? Another voice, filled with both awe and concern, questioned. What is he scheming? Armor, a new voice declared, the word filled with intention. I can utilize the power of darkness to form armor, to construct a more formidable, sturdier, dark armor. I must make it so vast that every living being in this world witnesses it. The scene shifted again, a new energy coursing through the battlefield. Astralization? A voice exclaimed, tinged with disbelief. No, that is not possible. Another voice, filled with shock, spoke out. The Shadow Monarch was originally a fragment of light. They should not possess other forms. A pause and then, that should be his original form. A torrent of confusion swept through the ranks. But how can his form be so immense? Another voice, laced with alarm, muttered, could it be possible? Did he truly summon the power of death to this world? How could he have accomplished such a feat? He was a common human only recently. How can he be able to manage the power of death to this extent? The voice continued, despair creeping in. The speaker then declared, This is me. This is the true strength that the Shadow Monarch, Ashborn, has passed on to me from within. A voice, filled with a newfound conviction, proclaimed. From within this immense form, I can feel an incredible and unimaginable amount of power endlessly flowing through me. I see. A voice, filled with realization, murmured. You, someone who has spent a substantial portion of your existence within the realms of both the living and the departed. So that is the reason the Shadow Monarch Ashborn was capable of passing on such power to a mere human. This human has been engaged in a battle with himself all along, another voice added, even before he possessed this power. The speaker continued, their voice filled with a sense of grim determination. For the sake of survival, I must prevent this individual's advance. A new voice, filled with both admiration and dread, rang out, he is simply too dangerous. It requires an immense amount of stamina simply to maintain a great power. A voice, laced with weariness, declared, This is my final offer. Do you truly intend to remain apart from me? A new voice, firm and resolute, cut through the silence. I have no intention of joining forces with a monster. The speaker's tone was unwavering, even in the face of such an overwhelming presence. How foolish, the first voice replied, a hint of exasperation creeping into its tone. The scene shifted, revealing a battlefield where the conflict was intensifying. The monarch of transfiguration and the army of destruction are dismantling everything you hold dear, a voice declared, a cold, calculated tone filling the air. Eventually, you will fail to protect. Even at this moment, while we engage, despite you being the king of the departed, you must feel trepidation. The speaker continued, Do you wish for the flames that consume even non-existence itself to reduce you to ashes? A pause followed, and then, everything you are desperately trying to preserve will fade away, an illusion. Surely, you must feel it, since you have awakened the powers of Ashborn. The countless cries of anguish within this land and world. This is what a war truly is, the voice announced, a note of dark satisfaction coloring its tone. This is the sound of the army of destruction, laying waste to humanity. Listen closely to their desperate cries. Let the despair spread like a plague and silence all hope, the speaker added, a sinister laugh echoing through the battlefield. You should be the one regretting your decision, not me. You imagine that a dagger forged from a dragon's tooth could cause me harm? A voice mocked, laced with disbelief. Do you not find this amusing? A clash between a flame born from darkness and a darkness born from the light. However, it seems this engagement is drawing near its conclusion. A voice, filled with a chilling calmness, declared. A moment of silence followed, and then the words, "That is correct. I can foresee the end." Oh, have you finally realized that further resistance is futile? A voice asked, curiosity tinging its tone. That is correct, a calm voice replied. The army of destruction will not even need to seek this place out, for I will guide them there myself, by removing your head, you foolish monarch. The atmosphere grew thick, heavy with anticipation. The sun darkens, casting longer shadows. A voice muttered, a sense of dread creeping in. You, a voice roared, filled with fury. I shall tear you apart and leave you for the drakes. I will make your demise memorable for daring to stand against the king of dragons until your very last breath. The speaker continued, their tone laced with a sinister curiosity. I wonder, can you perceive your own undoing? It requires an enormous amount of energy just to sustain great power. A voice, laced with weariness, stated. This is my final offer. Do you truly have no intention of joining forces with me? A resolute voice cut through the air. I will not cooperate with a monster. The speaker's tone was firm, unwavering in its defiance. How foolish, the first voice replied, a hint of disappointment coloring its tone. The scene shifted to a desolate landscape, the echoes of conflict still reverberating. The monarch of transfiguration and the army of destruction are dismantling everything you hold dear, a voice declared, a cold, calculated tone filling the space. In the end, you will be unable to protect. Even at this moment as we engage, though you are the king of the departed, you must still feel trepidation. The speaker's voice grew more menacing. Do you desire for the flames that consume even non-existence to turn you into nothingness? Everything you are desperately seeking to preserve. It will all be revealed as nothing more than an illusion. Surely, you must sense it, since you have awakened the power of Ashbourne. The countless cries of suffering throughout this land and world, that is the essence of conflict, the sound of the army of destruction ravaging humanity. Listen carefully to their desperate cries, the voice stated. Let despair spread like a plague and silence all hope. You should be the one regretting your decision. You imagined a dagger made from a dragon's tooth could harm the king of dragons? Don't you find this all rather amusing? A pause followed, then, a clash between a flame born from the darkness and a darkness born from the light. However, it appears this encounter is reaching its conclusion. That's correct. I can see the end. Oh, have you conceded that resistance is futile? A voice asked, tinged with amusement. That is correct, a calm voice replied. The army of destruction will no longer need to seek this place out, for I will guide them there myself, by disarming you, foolish monarch. A sudden shift in energy filled the air. The sun darkens, casting longer shadows. A voice muttered, a sense of foreboding creeping in. You, a voice roared, filled with fury. I will tear you apart and leave you as food. I will ensure that your demise is memorable for resisting against the king of dragons until the very last moment. Then, the speaker asked, I wonder, can you perceive your own end? The scene changed again, a new landscape coming into view. You have brought an end to our conflict, a voice, filled with gratitude, stated. I am unsure how to express my appreciation. Another voice, laced with solemnity, replied, I don't know if what I am about to ask can be considered appreciation, but I do have a request. A request? It's something only you can do for me, a voice, filled with sincerity, declared. I shall strive with all my might to aid you. Just once more. The voice continued. Could I utilize the cup of reincarnation one more time? The atmosphere grew heavy. Did you just ask whether you could use the cup of reincarnation to turn back time? A moment of silence, then the words, that's correct. Even if you were to manipulate time using a divine artifact, the consciousness of the higher beings would still remain. Would you still do it? Another voice questioned, concern lacing its tone. Even if the previous monarchs were to be restored to life, with their memories intact? That is correct, came the firm reply. And once you turn back time, I request that you do not send anyone to Earth, another voice added. I will contend with the monarchs and their forces by myself within the dimensional gap. You are willingly taking on the entire world yourself? What is your reason for this? We have used the cup of reincarnation numerous times, but this is the best outcome that we have obtained so far, a voice explained. Then, the voice continued, I have lost far too many people during this engagement, and I desire to bring them back. The cup's durability has almost been exhausted, a voice warned. If you were to fail at this time, you would be unable to turn back time once again. If you ceased your actions here, you could be remembered as the hero, the one who ended the monarch's invasion, and forever be remembered fondly by all. However, no one will recall the struggle that you are about to undertake now. If you are to fail, the fragments will be waiting. And even if you were to prevail, no one will be present to congratulate you. Still, you desire to turn back time? The speaker paused and then, I will go back in time. So, you intend to protect not just a portion of the world, but the entire world, with your own two hands. Your determination to take everything upon yourself. It reminds me of Ashbourne, your predecessor. The voice, tinged with admiration, concluded, I understand. I wish you the best of luck. Wait, what would happen to the shadow soldiers that did not exist previously? A voice, filled with sudden concern, inquired. The entities that overlap with the past would cease to be, while those that did not would remain. Understood, a voice replied, its tone filled with resolve. I am ready now. May your courage preserve your world, a voice, filled with hope, declared. The aroma of simmering stew filled the small house, a familiar comfort that usually signaled a new day. But today, it carried a strange weight. Gina, could you wake your brother? Her father's voice, usually booming, was a soft hum. Yes, Papa, Gina replied, her bare feet padding against the cool floor. But as she approached her brother's room, a soft voice surprised her. Oh, Jin-Woo said, his eyes already open, you're already awake. He'd been listening. The sounds of the house, the rising scent of the stew, the rhythmic thwack-thwack of her father chopping vegetables. Each was a thread in a tapestry of normality. China, who just washed up, the smell of stew being cooked, the sound of chopping, you're awake, Jin-Woo mused, a strange wistfulness coating his voice. In my room, that's full of my smell, father. The emphasis on father, instead of his usual dad, sent a shiver down Gina's spine. Father, Jin-Woo repeated, his gaze distant. Why are you suddenly acting that way? A pause hung in the air. Jin-Woo's voice, when it came, was lower, as if speaking from a deep sleep. I think I just had a nightmare. He laughed, a light, almost frantic laugh. Yeah, my nightmare has ended. My nightmare is over and now I'm with my younger sister, my mother who's healthy, and my father who didn't disappear. His words were a jumble, each one hitting with strange force. He looked around, a soft smile playing on his lips. I was given the last chance to set everything right. I can now rewrite the future that is to come. I won't lose this opportunity. He paused, his eyes now sharp, filled with a knowing glint. But just for a little creativity trial, isn't it okay for me just to treasure this peace that I'm feeling? As a reward for myself, I know, as well, that beyond those skies there are monarchs, preparing humongous gates to challenge us right now. His voice dipped, quieter. But for just a little longer. If this time that I'm enjoying wouldn't cause harm to anyone, then I would like to stay here and enjoy it for a day longer. The shift was unsettling, like a pendulum swinging from feverish energy to melancholic peace. He spoke of opportunities, of rewriting futures, of monarchs and threats from beyond the sky, a world Gina couldn't comprehend. I'll come back after I'm done with what I need to do, he stated, abruptly leaving the room, leaving Gina standing in the doorway, lost in her brother's cryptic words. Elsewhere, Jin-Woo found himself in an endless void. This empty world that has nothing but endless darkness feels extremely lonely if there isn't any fighting. He recounted a victory against the monarchs, against the transfiguration, the very core of conflict, finally arriving at the fact that it has been 27 years since he entered the dimensional crack. It looks like the long and dreary fight is finally coming to an end soon. But he knew the fight was not fully complete. The only remaining challenges are the Dragon Emperor and his direct soldiers, the Brigade of Destruction. Time moved differently here. Around 2 years have passed in the outside world. I wonder how father and mother are doing. How much Gina has changed. A pensive pause. Should I wait for her to grow up more before I explain what happened to her? He shook his head, determination hardening his features. My leg aches. We finished things up here. No enemies were left standing. All right, we won't lose a second time. With a low growl, Jin-Woo commanded, "Arise." The monarch of transfiguration, Yogiment, has been defeated, a low voice announced. Shall we move somewhere further from where they are? Jin-Woo responded, "No, I'm tired of running away. We'll stand and challenge him here." A voice echoed from the dark. "The Shadow Monarch is truly amazing. I didn't expect you to use the cup of reincarnation to turn back time. To think I'd meet you again alive and breathing." It paused, the menace within it clear. "But it's time for one of us to rest in peace, for eternity." The voice shifted, becoming curious. "I meant Ares, oh? Second Shadow Monarch, what is your name?" "Sung Jin-Woo," he replied, his eyes locking onto the invisible threat. A final question, from the dark, hung in the air. "Do you have anything else to say?" "No." 2 years had trickled by in the real world, an unremarkable passage of time until a fortune-teller's pronouncements sent shockwaves across America. A god, poised to bring doom, will soon descend upon this land. Norma Selna, the seer, proclaimed, her words echoing across news channels. Normally, such a prediction would be dismissed as fanciful. But Norma Selna was no ordinary soothsayer. "The god of death will descend," she had stated with unnerving conviction, "along with an infinite number of soldiers of death. There's no way for us to evade the coming of this entity." 2 years earlier, she had been an unknown, until she suddenly declared an array of predictions that shook the world. The end of the North Korean dictator, the terrorist hostage situation, and the collapse of the stock market due to the real estate crash. These were events that reshaped the world in a short span of time. She had become the center of a firestorm, and now, her latest declaration promised the end of everything. The next day, the skies of Seoul twisted. A colossal black hole, large enough to swallow the city whole, opened above. Selna's prophecy leaped from the fringes of newspapers and landed on front pages worldwide. An uncomfortable truth now impossible to ignore. "You are over there. It's opening." A voice cried out in the chaos. "The hole is opening right now." Yet, as the world watched, frozen in fear, nothing emerged. It was a silent prelude to what would surely be chaos. "We are glad you've returned safely," a voice announced, breaking the tense stillness. "Welcome back, Sung Jin-Woo, or should I call you the Shadow Monarch?" The speaker, an envoy, addressed Jin-Woo, a middle schooler. "I didn't expect you to appear in the form of a middle schooler." Jin-Woo shrugged. "It's because people might have been scared if I came out with a fully bearded face," he said, a hint of amusement dancing in his eyes. "It doesn't feel bad to have at least one person welcoming me back." "We really didn't think that you'd be able to make it back," the envoy admitted, "after trying to take care of everything alone. But right now, I see that your steps carry the weight of 10 million soldiers. The weight of an unfulfilled destiny had returned." "I'm sure you're not here just to give me a flower bouquet," Jin-Woo countered. "What business does the envoy of the rulers have with me?" "The rulers have a message for you," the envoy replied, his voice taking on a serious tone. "This might be a long conversation. Shall we move to another location to talk?" "All right," Jin-Woo agreed. "I just happen to have a place that I'd like to drop by in mind." The chosen place turned out to be an ice cream shop. "After being in a place where there's nothing for so long," Jin-Woo explained, taking a generous bite of his cone, "it's natural that one would like to eat something sweet." "What did the rulers say?" Jin-Woo asked as he devoured the sweet treat. "Ah, they would like to thank you as usual," the envoy replied. "Forget the formalities. Is there a problem?" "No," the envoy assured him. "In fact, I'm here for you, because all of the problems have been resolved." The words seemed to offer closure, but Jin-Woo could detect a tension below the surface. "The rulers are worried about your powers," the envoy continued, "which can influence the direction of the world. The power that you possess is not something that the world is ready for. So, This world that doesn't even have mana is way too weak. Which is why, if you're okay with it, we're wondering if you'd mind moving to another world that's ready to accept your power. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed slightly. Instead of doing something that's such a pain in the rear end, like moving me to another world, there's also the option of just sealing me completely, he offered. Of course, that's possible too, the envoy conceded. A heavy silence hung in the air, laden with unspoken implications. Now that you no longer have any use, are you guys getting rid of me just because you're afraid of the powers that I possess? Jin-Woo pressed. No, that's definitely not it, the envoy quickly replied, and extended a newspaper to Jin-Woo. Please read this. The god of death would be descending on this land. What's this article about? Before you came back, Selna had created an uproar with a prophecy. Back when you disappeared, she wasn't such a powerful fortune teller, but after coming into contact with our world, her life has changed so. A flicker of comprehension crossed Jin-Woo's face. Are you saying that my existence brought about this change? Yes, monarch, came the reply. Could we talk again another time? Jin-Woo asked, rising to his feet. Instead, I will do just that. A look of worry appeared on the envoy's face. Oh, great monarch. Jin-Woo looked out to the city, the vastness and complexity before him. If every living organism has a fixed purpose for their existence, then one thing's for sure. I, who became the Shadow Monarch, to stop the world's odd phenomena, and the monarchs with my strength have completed my mission. I fulfilled my purpose. A quiet, almost resigned sigh escaped his lips. But a great amount of power that has served its purpose is a pain to deal with, just like nuclear materials that have reached the end of their lifespan. His tone became laced with an undeniable coldness. If that's the case, there will be a lot of questions. Would I now become an existence that this place doesn't need anymore? How meaningless. He looked at the ice cream, the sweet aroma suddenly lacking a spark. However, he murmured, if there's a reason to remain in this place, then it's probably that there are still people that I love in this place, and that people who love me are still here. Which is why, that's enough reason for me to stay here. I'll stay here and find other reasons as to why I should stay here. Police, I would feel a sense of lust from time to time. Work together with the safe and reliable Police 112. The public service announcement played, but it did nothing to shake the strange sensation. It was a bizarre sense of lust that felt like I was forgetting something important. Urgent news flash, human rights equality. A news banner scrolled across the television screen, a stark contrast to the nagging feeling that consumed him. Try as he might to recall, there was nothing I had forgotten, yet, the more and more I thought about it, the bigger the void in my heart would grow. We gentle fourth-year violent crime detectives, his partner, Detective Kim, announced, pulling him out of his thoughts. What are you thinking so intently about? Well, there's no time for a busy bee like me to be sad, Wu said with a forced smile, turning his focus back to the task at hand. Let's just focus on work. Violent Crimes Team 2, who are they? Another detective asked, pointing to a group outside. Constitutional Order Volunteer. Faithfully owe them. Our police are your. A young man blurted. Monster came out of the shadows. I mean a shadow. A shadow came out of the ground and talked to me. He continued in a rush, explaining, if I didn't surrender myself within 24 hours, it would make me regret being alive. A growing sense of unease washed over Detective Wu. Detective, another man stammered. I admit that I committed the crime, so please put me in jail quickly. So all of you saw that shadow monster? Asked Detective Kim, disbelief lacing his tone. That's what we are saying, came the reply. How should I be reporting this, gentle? Another detective asked, confused. Let the newbie deal with the report, said Detective Kim dismissively. I want you to come to the meeting room now. In the meeting room, tension filled the air. You want to release those who surrendered themselves? Detective Wu asked, incredulous. Hey, Detective Kim whispered, lowering her voice. Lower your voice, everyone outside is going to hear you. We are not just releasing them. We want to see what will happen if they stay outside for 24 hours. They are just high right now and are spouting nonsense. Detective Wu stated. That monster, or whatever thing that they saw, is probably some kind of new side effect of drugs. But they were tested for drugs, and their results were negative, Detective Kim countered. I even went to the NFS Astras to check the results, personally. And do you think it makes sense that all these people who are not connected to each other would see the same thing and surrender at the same time? Detective Kim continued. The higher-ups told us to look into the reason for a while now, yet we still don't have an inkling at all. We need to do this so we can at least get some sort of a clue. So, we're making that nonsensical situation that they are talking about happen. What if something really happens to them? Wu asked, his concern growing. Detective boy, were you the type to believe in ghosts? Kim teased. I didn't think you were that kind of person. Nothing will happen, detective. We'll just be bringing those suspects to a quiet storage area and seeing what happens. There will be several bulky detectives watching over them, so how would they be able to escape? She added. And let's say a monster really does appear after 24 hours, shouldn't we be thankful if that happens? All right, we'll need volunteers now, Kim stated. Detective Wu, if you really don't like this idea, you can stay out of it. No, I'll go along as well, he replied, his eyes darting across the room. In the storage area, the men seemed unnerved. Detectives, I really mustn't be here. One of them begged. I'll expire. Just stay still. There's something we need to investigate, said Detective Kim, trying to reassure him. I'll really expire, hey? Why would you expire? Another detective questioned. We'll be protecting you by your side. Detective Kim, how long until the 24 hours are up? Wu asked, feeling the tension mount. Let's see. I think there's about 10 minutes left, Kim replied. Ah, it's so cold in here, one of the men stated, rubbing his arms. Somehow it feels like the air around us is different from usual. Oh, the time is up really? Kim asked. Then a new voice spoke up. Her? What? Why is nothing happening? Another of the surrendered criminals exclaimed. Hey, you guys took drugs as a group, right? Don't hold out on us and be straight. Gold for us, but we really saw it previously, one stammered. There were actually 4 of us. Come out from there. Suddenly, they vanished from view, and in the chaos, Detective Kim yelled out, monsters really appeared. 3 of them. The room seemed to spin as the detectives lost consciousness. Later, in a hospital room, one of the detectives muttered in confusion, the ant is smiling. No, forget the ant smiling. How am I able to tell from their expressions that they are glad to meet us? It's as if I'm familiar with situations like this. Just, how would you do? Look at the mess you've created. The suspects have gone completely missing, and you, as detectives, simply fainted. The chief stared at them, his voice filled with anger. Detective boy, what about you? You called for the ambulance, right? Do you remember anything? Sorry, when I came back to my senses, everyone was out colder, he replied. Fortunately, this hasn't been reported to the higher-ups yet. I want all of you to keep your mouth shut about this case. The 2 of you got injured by accident while looking into the Garugu gang. Got it? Yes, sir. The detectives replied in unison. The conscripted premins of Korea Crimes Team B, Wu murmured to himself, something is definitely up. Gentle, are you going to continue investigating the case where the suspects surrendered themselves? Kim questioned. I'm just checking something in my personal capacity, he responded, his eyes focused on a screen. Well, there's quite a lot of criminals that have given themselves up outside of our jurisdiction. Huh, so it seems. Those numbers dropped a lot between late February and early March, though. What's wrong? Is there something that comes to your mind? Kim asked, noticing his pensive expression. Oh, it's nothing much. My aunt used to run a small book rental store, and I was just remembering how my aunt always groaned about how business was bad between late February and early March because that's the season when kids go back to school after vacation. That's pretty useless information, right? Kim asked. Change and chill. No. I'll remember that, just in case. His gaze turned back to the screen, the numbers still haunting his mind, the feeling of something missing returning.